Hello, everyone. Of lately, we have seen that there has been a lot of talk around hostile takeover, especially after a recent hostile takeover of a well known media house. So, let's understand today what is hostile takeover, when does it take place, and can businesses defend such takeovers? So, let us understand all of this in more detail from our guest speaker today. We have Miss Bindiya Raichura with us. She is partner at Juris Corp. Welcome, Bindiya.
Hi, Avni.
So, starting with the first question, can you explain to our audience what is a hostile takeover?
Sure. In order for the audience to understand what a hostile takeover is, I would, in a nutshell, explain what a friendly acquisition is as against the hostile takeover. A friendly acquisition occurs when the target company's controlling group sells its shares to the acquirer willingly. If the target company's management refuses to engage, the acquirer can approach the company's shareholders directly and make an open offer. This is what is known as hostile takeover. A hostile takeover happens when the acquirer goes through the company's shareholders or combat the management of the company in order to get approval for the acquisition. The key characteristic of a hostile takeover is that the management of the target company does not wish the acquisition to happen. At times, the management of the target company tries to fend against the hostile takeovers by making use of strategies that are considered controversial, such as shark repellent, Pac-Man defense, poison pill, sale of assets, refusal to transfer of shares.
Thank you so much for helping our audience understand that, Bindya, and also the difference between what is hostile takeover and friendly acquisition. Coming to my next question, can you explain what are the factors that drive a hostile takeover?
There are several factors that drive a hostile takeover of a company. One such factor is that the acquirer believes that the target company is undervalued and would be beneficial in the long run if they take over the company. Another reason could be that the acquirer wants to enter into the sector in which the target company operates. Sometimes hostile takeovers are strategic moves by investors who are activists and are in pursuit of changing the management and operations of the target company.
Thank you so much for explaining the factors. But are there any laws specifically in the country that govern hostile takeovers in India?
Yes. In India, takeovers are primarily governed by the SEBI Substantial Acquisition of Shares and Takeovers Regulations 2011. It's commonly known as the Takeover Code. The Takeover Code defines an acquirer as a person who directly or indirectly acquires shares or voting rights or control over the target company by himself or through persons acting in concert. Furthermore, the key regulation in this takeover code is Regulation 3, which permits such acquirers to make a public announcement of an open offer in case they aim to acquire more than 25% of the voting rights of the target company. In other words, the threshold is if you acquire more than 25%, you are required to make a public announcement and do an open offer. It is easy to conclude that the takeover code provides no legal protection against a hostile takeover. Furthermore, there is no distinction in the takeover code between a friendly acquisition or a hostile takeover. More so, the takeover code contains no onerous requirements for hostile takeovers that would undermine the aim of such a bill.
Thank you so much for sharing the laws with us. Coming to my next question, about the businesses. So, what type of defenses or measures can businesses take against hostile takeovers in the country?
Sure. A company has a host of options through which it can prevent or defend a hostile takeover. Some of these options make the takeover expensive for the acquirer. In some cases, the most valuable asset of the target company is even sold off, thereby making the acquirer back out from the hostile takeover. I will discuss with you some of the commonly deployed methods by the target company to counter a hostile takeover. As I mentioned before, shark repellent. commonly known as anti-takeover code amendments. Strategically, the company amends the charter document to make the takeover code nearly impossible for the acquirer. To deter hostile takeovers, a company may make special amendments to its charter documents, which becomes active only when a takeover is attempted. It is commonly known as a porcupine provision. These are put in place largely to reinforce the ability of a company's board of directors to remain in control. Techniques such as staggered or classified board structures may be implemented through which only specified directors are re-elected to the board while others have a fixed tenure, thereby forcing a hostile bidder to wait until the completion of the tenure of those board of directors. Poison pills, a specifically designed shareholders' right plan, is called poison pill. It comes with certain conditions drafted specifically to thwart attempted takeovers. Poison pills come into play when a hostile bidder acquires a certain percentage of target's voting shares, following which the target shareholders become entitled to new shares offered at a deep discount, making the target company's shares much more expensive to buy for a hostile bidder. Pac-Man is another defense. This defense is a bold move in which the target company prevents a takeover by buying stake in the acquirer company and ultimately gaining control over the acquirer. Sale of assets. In a move to make the acquisition less interesting for the acquiring company, the target may sell the whole company or most of its valuable assets of the company, thereby making the sale less attractive for the acquirer. White knight is another defense. Where a hostile takeover seems imminent, the target may seek out other investors which are friendly to the target company and sell the company or substantial stocks of the company to the friendly investor. Such friendly investor is called a white knight. Greenmeal is another defense. Greenmeal refers to the money paid to an hostile entity to stop or prevent the aggressive behavior of the bidder. Greenmeal is an anti-takeover tool in which the target company pays a premium to purchase its own shares back at the increased price from the hostile acquirer. Refusal to register the shares. This is one of the simplest methods or way to avoid the takeover. However, not the best way because the illegality of the act may be challenged in the court of law, resulting in years of tussle. According to the Companies Act 2013, a company may refuse to register the transfer of shares, but only with a sufficient cause. The legality of refusal to register the transfer of shares has already been challenged before various courts, and now it is a settled position that the company may refuse to register the transfer of shares, but the act must be done with a sufficient cause and without a malefied intention. A very famous case law on this is the Apex Court's decision in the Macintosh case, which is Macintosh Bond Limited versus Sarkar and Chaudhary Enterprises Private Limited. So these are few of the defenses which the company can take in order to avoid a hostile takeover.
Yeah, so thank you so much for listing down the methods for the defenses and measures which businesses can take. And this can be really helpful for them as well. But, it will be really helpful to understand it in a better way if you can share with our audience some of the known hostile takeovers which have taken place in India.
Sure. Hostile takeover is not something which is just emerged now. There have been various instances of hostile takeover in the past. It first started sometime in 1980 when a London-based NRI, Swaraj Paul, tried a hostile bid to control the management of two Indian companies, namely Escorts Limited and Delhi Cloth Limited. He, however, failed in his motives due to feared opposition. Similarly, in 1997, Asian Paints faced a strong takeover threat from a London-based Imperial Chemical Industries. This too was not successful due to the government's disapproval. The next one which I can say is in 1998, India Cements take over Rasi Cements when B.V. Raju sold his 32% stake in Rasi Cements to India Cements. This was the first successful hostile takeover in India. Another famous hostile takeover which took place was in 2008 where Emami acquired 24% stake in Zandu from Vaidyas, co-founders of Zandu at INR 6,900 per share. Along with that, an open offer of 25% stake was presented to Parekh, another co-founder of Zandu. After 4 months of futility to save the company, Parekh also given their 18% stake. With this, Imami acquired Zandu's 72% stake in the company. Thereafter, in 2000, Abhishek Dalmia made an open offer to acquire 45% of share capital in Jesco Corporation. The promoters of Jesco and Dalmia Group reached an amicable settlement in the battle for Jesco, with the former buying out Dalmia's 10.5% stake. Thereafter, in 2019, Larsen and Toubro took over a Bangalore-based company, Mindtree Limited. Larsen and Toubro completed buying 31% additional stake in Mindtree for Indian rupees, I think approximately 4,900 crores through an open offer. With this, L&T completely controlled the software company's board and management. This has been one of the most famous and cleanest hostile takeover in the history of hostile takeovers in India. Now comes the famous and the latest hostile takeover, which just completed in December 2022, which is the Adani Enterprise takeover of NDTV. Adani Enterprises had in August 2022 announced that its media unit and two other entities would indirectly buy 29.18% stake in NDTV. It further said that it would launch an open offer for another 26% stake in NDTV. On 23rd August 2022, Adani Group acquired 29.18% stake in NDTV. Thereafter, on 22nd November 2022, Adani Group launched an open offer to acquire an additional 26% stake in NDTV. The offer was open till 5th December 2022. As per the takeover code, an open offer is an offer made by the acquirer to the shareholders of the target company, inviting them to tender their shares in the target company at a particular price. In the instant case, the target company is NDTV. The primary purpose of an open offer is to provide an exit option to the shareholders of the target company on account of the change in control or substantial acquisition of shares. An open offer is triggered if an acquirer holds more than 25% of the public shareholding in the company. As I mentioned before, the threshold is 25% or more. The open offer launched by Adani Group found investors willing to sell over 53 lakh shares of NDTV despite the deep discount on the stock trading price. The stock tender translated an 8.26% shareholding, taking Adani Group's total shareholding in NDTV to 37.44%, which is higher than the 32.26% holding of the founders, namely Pranav Roy and Radhika Roy. Prior to Adani Group's hostile takeover, promoters held 61.45% shares in NDTV. NDTV's board of directors, at its meeting held on 9 December, approved a proposal to invite Adani Group's entity holding 29.18% equity share capital of NDTV to nominate two directors on the board of NDTV. This appointment was done in the meeting of the board of directors held on 23rd December 2022. So this was the latest hostile takeover which has taken place.
So, yeah, thank you for sharing various instances of hostile takeovers from the past. I think this helps us understand that it is not something that has emerged just now. So, coming to the last question, and we just wanted some concluding remarks or key takeaways from you for our audience on hostile takeovers.
Sure. I would like to conclude by adding that Indian legislature is doing a reasonably good job of safeguarding the companies from hostile takeovers. The Indian government, right from the Swaraj case, has been very conscientious and meticulous. Takeover code is also being updated from time to time, and all amendments have been in the right direction. Economy of scale is also a component that is responsible for less Indian hostile takeovers. Despite the absence of legislature forbidding hostile takeovers, a company has plethora of strategies to defend against a hostile takeover. Not only before the attempt, even after an attempt, a company can protect itself. However, it is upon each company to choose the right methodology to suit its structure. Every corporate would face different issues, but tackling them in the right manner in good time would be beneficial. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bindiya, for helping our audience understand the concept of hostile takeover in so much detail and covering various aspects surrounding it. So, thank you so much for being part of our video today.
My pleasure, Avi. Thank you.